a special edition of What's Up Now. We have a very special guest today. This is Beth Macy, and she's written a very important book on a subject most of us don't know anything about. Do you want to tell us how you got onto this kind of a topic?
Sure. So I was a reporter for the Roanoke Times in the late 80s, and driving around Roanoke one day with a photographer named Don Peterson, and he said, he told me about the story of these two African-American brothers with albinism who were little boys around 1900 when they were kidnapped and sold to the circus. And so that's kind of the bones of the story. And he said, it's the best story in town, but nobody's been able to get it. And so that made me want to get it.
Of course.
Because I'm just that competitive. So then it took 25 years really to talk the main contemporary character into letting me tell the story.
How did you get a connection with somebody that would obviously be that protective of her family?
Well, she was the one. Like, I had to go to the person who had the story and who took care of Willie Mears late in his life. And she ran a little soul food shop, little soul food restaurant called the Goody Shop. Mm-hmm. And it was a wonderful little place. And we gradually, slowly kind of built this...
Over years.
25 years.
Wow.
Built this relationship to where in 2013 I asked if I could turn her uncle's story into a book. And she made me wait about 6 weeks. She called on Christmas morning, and she waited to give it to me as a present. And she, as long as I remembered that whatever I found out, I had to remember that her uncles came out on top in the end, because she knew I would find out some hard things.
How was that for you as a person coming up against that kind of prejudice?
Well, I mean,
We all knew it happened.
we all knew it happened. I guess we didn't know the particulars of it. You know, just the fact that the family story was never once told from their point of view. That sort of hit me like a ton of bricks, you know, when I just saw how horribly they were treated and quoted in black dialect without clearly having ever interviewed the family members. And and then just all the holes in the stories because their point of view was never recorded. That was frustrating. But it was it was a great privilege to try to tease it all out and find out what happened. And to me, I think just to figure out like what life was like here in Franklin County during sharecropping days.
This is a story of this area.
Yeah, it's called Truevine, and it's named for this little community where the family was from.
And I have seen some of your stories.
Uh-huh.
They're floating around on the internet.
Which stories?
It
Like
takes a
all
minute.
of my stories?
Not all of them.
Okay.
But here and there, I wish we had more time. We go into it because right there, seeing that on the internet was interesting. It told me a little bit about you.
Oh, okay.
Because my view was from the book, and reading the book, it doesn't sound like a reporter is writing it.
Oh, well, thank you.
It's a very good, cohesive read that keeps you going from one chapter
Well,
to
I'm
the
a
next.
reporter. I mean, it's only as good as the facts that you're able to get and the relationships you're able to build so that people will tell you things. So it's basically everything I ever learned from writing in newspapers is in both of my books, but they're just longer and more complicated.
Can I jump in for a second? Because
Yeah, sure.
I want to know if you think of yourself as a novelist now. What do you think?
I think of novels as like fiction, but I think of
Okay.
myself as like narrative nonfiction writer.
'Cause
I'm just a journalist, really. I mean, it's just facts.
A journalist all grown up.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
I was typing some sections in and letting other people read it on the internet, and I had to fight with a couple of people that insisted that this was not fact, it was fiction.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Okay. What did
So-
they think was fiction?
Just the way it read.
Oh,
It doesn't read like
I tried
a news
really
report.
hard to make sure.
It's a
if
beautiful
I didn't
book.
know something was true, I would say likely or maybe or probably. I tried to let the
All
reader
the
know.
good adverbs.
Yeah, I tried to let the reader know if there was a little bit of doubt, and I tried to source everything in the back with the notes.
Oh, got a wonderful set of notes.
Yeah.
If you want to learn more, you can just start from right in the back of the book.
Yeah,
which
and a
liked.
lot of it researched right here at the Franklin County Library in Rocky Mount, and also at the Franklin County Historical Society. The Virginia room of the Roanoke Public Library was a really important place where I really highly recommend that people that are interested in looking up the genealogy, they're just so helpful there.
So you found most of what you needed right here.
Yeah, here and in Roanoke. Yeah, I had to reach out to like various circus archives. My husband Tom and I went to Bearloo, Wisconsin, where the
Oh, wow, yeah.
the Circus World Museum is, and we've got a lot of stuff there. We went to There's another archive in Illinois. I hired some people to do research at places I didn't have the time or money to go to. Like, there's an archive in California. There's one in England. And then the people at the Ringland Museum in Florida were super
I was
helpful.
gonna say
And
that,
just,
yes.
I had been there once before, but I didn't. They said I didn't need to go because they would just look all the stuff up for me, which they did. I mean, I don't know if I missed something, but
That's marvelous. What do you think
It's
about
really
it being turned into a movie? There's a lot of chatter online about that.
oh yeah, I know. I mean, I don't know.
Ton.
It's too soon to say, like, because it's not even. It's still in negotiations, so it's really too early to say.
As an author, as a person,
Oh, it's quite a great honor. I mean, it would
What did
be
it
great
feel
to
like
see
when
what
you-
somebody else would do with your work, you know,
Well, it's your
because a movie
baby.
is.
Don't
something-
sign away your rights. Make sure you have a little,
artistic control.
Yes.
So what's next in the works?
So I'm actually under contract to do a third book for Little Brown and Company called Dope Sick, which is about the opioid epidemic, and it's quite different, although it's got some history in it too, because morphine's been around for a long time.
Oh, we could talk about morphine.
Yeah, so it's a little dark. Well, this was parts of both books were dark, but this one's it's gonna be a little harder to find the light, but I'm trying.
Wow.
I wanted to ask you about
Sure, Carl.
the level, when I read the book, I was almost overwhelmed by the level of atmosphere of discrimination, of that whole
This whole
thing.
intensity.
It felt so heavy. How do you help people get past that? Because some people don't even believe it still exists, but obviously there are remnants of it throughout society. And I don't know what you do about that.
Yeah.
It sounds
I think first
like,
you have to acknowledge it happened, right? So it's more than separate water fountains and separate schools. It's the lady in her 80s who remembers walking to school as a little girl and the parrots being trained by the white lady to squawk racial epithets. It's
the parrot.
It's people paying for their rent and sex. It's just all these daily. It was the guy tonight who mentioned that I had talked about the Hub restaurant. He said we used to have to eat out the back door, and I had never even hadn't thought of that. But when we African American people have different histories and memories and family stories than white people have, and I think there's stories we all need to know. And I think until we know them, like acknowledge them, only then can we then begin to get beyond it. And all that is like, I'm hoping that the reader will come away with empathy. You know?
Because basically what I've seen on the internet is discouraging.
It's very discouraging.
To think that they don't even believe it's real, or at least there's got to be people that believe it's real, but there's an enormous number of people who seem to feel that that isn't a problem anymore. And if they just understood how that goes down from generation to generation, how
Yeah.
to get past it. I don't know. Just depressed me.
Like you said, it took you years to gain confidence.
To get people to trust me, to open up. Yeah,
and
I mean, it always
imagine-
takes a while. You know, any kind of story if it's difficult, it takes people a while to trust you. You know.
Especially from where you were coming from, they're kind of seeing you as the man.
Yeah.
I mean, being
The white lady
broadcast-
man.
Yeah, and I could see where you could have a great deal of difficulty, but that you.
People are just people, though, and everybody wants to have somebody to listen to them. I think.
And this is a really important story.
To have somebody
It's
listen hard to you, that's a
It's
rare
not just
thing.
a story about freaks, it's a story about two boys that
And
lost
their
their
family.
lives.
Yeah.
And the mother, how many years did she fight for them?
Decades. She was without him for 13 years, and then once she got them back and got a settlement for their back wages, then she still had to continue fighting for them, really, for them to be paid, because whenever they could not pay them, they wouldn't. But she died in 1942, and then it fell to her daughter to kind of.
So this
enforce
has
the
been
legal
a
debt.
family tradition, basically.
And the women in this family are really tough.
Oh,
Really
wow.
tough, and they had to be, and they're quite inspiring, I think, especially right down to Nancy Saunders, the great niece.
I think you've done marvelous work here,
Well, thank
and it's
you.
an important work, but it's not dry. A lot of people don't want to read something like that because they feel like they're going to be bombarded with facts and figures. But this is a story that you get into. You want to find out what's happening next.
Well, I hope so. And
And-
these are the places that where you live.
Yeah,
so.
and most people don't think we're anything but a little bump on the map. But things have happened here, good things, bad things.
Yep, that's true. I think that's true of every place. I mean, if you don't know, like, the amazing stories, you just haven't dug deep enough,
But you are a good person to bring this out because you are a performer.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not.
No, you are
come
very good at getting the point across and being. I
You
mean,
get the crowd.
I've
You
seen
do get
some
the crowd.
I've seen some authors who just cannot.
Well, I've had
Talk
a lot
about
of
their
practice. I used to be very nervous about it, but now I'm just like, well, I did that. I didn't die. I can do it again.
Yeah, I saw Stephen King many years ago when he came to Virginia Beach. Remember, and he was just on top. I mean, you were that level of engagement and
Very
being
high.
able to,
If you had your audience.
Thanks.
that's important. That's
Appreciate it.
that's
Well, it's
great.
great to have. What a privilege to have this many people on a weeknight.
I want to ask you a quick question about newspapers.
Okay.
Because you were writing a newspaper story when newspapers were newspapers. I don't think they're newspapers anymore for the most part, at least the ones I've read. Don't seem to be, I don't know, is it corporate ownership? Is it, what is it that has changed?
How has it changed for
It's
you?
just harder for newspapers to,
Exist?
and to make a profit, and so they've had to cut back
On-
staffs.
and really
you
doing a
see
story.
that. I mean, there's exception, like I read the New York Times every morning, I mean, they're growing.
Yes.
And the Roanoke Times has done some things right, but, it's a much smaller paper than it used to be, and that's too bad in any community when the paper gets smaller because there's fewer watchdogs and fewer people out there doing enterprise stories.
Bringing the little things to
It's not
light.
just a tragic accident or something, it's a story you gotta delve into. You can't just, I gotta do it by
Well, I
tomorrow.
could have never done this story like for the newspaper with this kind of depth. I mean,
Yeah.
you really need a couple
Yeah.
years in a
Yeah.
book length.
And if you want to find out anything else about the location or the story or the background to the story, the last couple of dozen pages just keep you going.
Oh, that's nice.
I mean, it's wonderful. I've just started looking things up. I'm one
Oh,
of
great.
those.
You talking about the notes, the end notes? Yeah.
The
great.
end notes are
Great.
marvelous.
And I've got a website that is author.bethmacy.com,
Yep.
and there's more
We've got that
information there
bookmarked.
on me and about the tour and other times when I'll be speaking in Bassett next Tuesday. I don't know.
Oh, yes, you're also gonna be doing the Floyd radio show again, are you?
Yeah.
See, that's right, we
That's
first saw you
Saturday.
when you were at the Jefferson Center doing this,
okay.
and it was like, oh my God, she's.
Dylan Luck is just
Okay,
great.
okay, you're a performer, yeah.
Do you want to let her go eat now?
Yeah, I guess we
Yeah,
can.
thank you so much.
Well, thank
and,
you.
Appreciate it. And this is your book?
So close it.
Okay.
Close the show.
Yeah, close my book. That's my book. I want my book.
Okay, well, tell us, Truevine, Beth Macy.
By Beth Macy, soon to be a major.
Oh, wow.
Well, who knows? Yeah, you never know.
Thank you very
Thank you
much.
so much.
And
Great
thank
to
you.
meet you.